We're back. Um, it's a week later. It's the third episode. We have our first guest, his family, literally by blood. Mr. Free by Running himself. He's been here for coming up on 10 years, which is
Yes, indeed.
a decade. It's crazy. It's insane. But I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Go ahead. By all
Hey,
means.
hey, here with the family. Cuzzo, appreciate you. I'm proud of you for, creating a platform and allowing me to be able to speak my piece. My name is Alex Horvell, local artist, curator, coming up on a 10-year run of my foundation, that represents art and mindfulness, showing how they both collide with each other by providing safe spaces for the youth and young adults to create and have a conversation about mental health. And, art has always been my outlet and my way of basically funneling the kind of inner chaos and kind of the things that I have to endure coming up. So there was never really a space around this area when I was coming up. So, creating it um, and taking it as far as it can go. Running with your passion. Free by running means I'm free by running with my dreams and passion. It's just like self esteem, self awareness, creative expression. That's how we here. We here, and I'm blessed, man. I'm here with my cousin, here with the fam, and you know, um, yeah, I appreciate this opportunity, bro. Let's, yeah,
Where can we find you, Al?
you know, you know, we here, at the Massaponax Flea Market, and you know, this is actually the first physical location for the office for the studio. So it's 9040 Patriot Highway, Fredericksburg, Virginia, and that's just as far as being like physical, like a physical actual location. The hours right now it's just on weekends, but when January hit,
Mm-hmm.
which we're ending the year, we're going full force and gonna put some days out during the week as well. But
Thousand
as
percent.
far as media, my name on Instagram is nothing is I like EYE dot underscore, and Free by Running's page is FBR dot FXBG, and to learn more about like when we'll be open during the week as far as the shop and stuff,
Mm.
that'll be online. So people, if you're on Instagram, check it out. Those two pages, FBR.FXBG, and then my personal page, nothing is I, EYE dot underscore. And then of course, Majestic Vibes with a J. So Majestic on Instagram as well. And Facebook, tapping more into the Facebook world in January as well.
That's where the church folk be.
Yeah. I haven't got on the Facebook yet because it's like, that's where a lot of the elders and
Mm.
you know I still got a community on there as well, but it's a little different. It's a little different than like Instagram or TikTok, where
Right.
it's kind of engaged towards artists.
Yeah, that's
As other
true.
than like Facebook, you have a lot of people just talking trash on their post, or you got people that
You're not
just be
wrong. They
people
be
just
reacting to posts.
yeah, and they don't really care. They don't really like, a lot of them just be, they're like some nosy neighbors looking over
But
the
it's kind of funny
fence.
because on Facebook, like you're not even behind like a username. Like it's your government first, last. Like you're talking trash as you,
Yeah,
as you a
that's what
person.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, Facebook is different. Like, I have to strategically go about things. Like,
Right.
I mean, everything to me is strategic, and I'm not
Mm.
trying hard to be. It's just like I'm having fun with it, and I feel like the art is the way to kind of communicate, and it also weeds people out too. Like
Mm.
it is what it is. It's all pure motivation. You know, it's kind of like with social media, you got to think a little bit ahead because
Yeah.
you're if you're gonna say something like as far as like politically or whatever like that, just be prepared.
For whatever comes
For
back to
whatever
you.
comes back to you. So yeah, I haven't gotten to the. I gotta resurrect the Facebook. you know, but I'm on there, Alex Harvell, Harvell, you know, and
We're gonna
um,
drop all the links in underneath this episode. I promise. This is me holding myself accountable.
hey, you got to do it. Accountability. That's
I
why we're
have
here
to.
today, man. We made it.
Yeah,
We
I
made it.
dragged my legs too, not because of the episode, but just because of just when you start something new, of course you know about people that gut nervousness when you about to start something, you're like, all right, I can't put it down.
Yeah,
I got to carry it, and if I put it down, it's gonna get real muddy. I can't pick it back up. So it's
yeah,
either you pick it up, you run with it, you put
yep.
it down, you never start again.
Oh, that's major. That's major. Like, you know, you could start to think about things, and then you start visualizing uh what you're gonna do next. What you're gonna do next. Like,
Right?
you could kind of like get too ahead of
Yeah,
yourself
too
sometimes too
ahead,
if you don't take that first step.
and
You
just
know,
take a. I think
take
a
a
part of it's
breather.
just taking a breather, being in the now, and it goes to my point, which is the name of this episode. A lot of times when we are in spaces, not only as black people, but as
Mm-hmm.
well as creatives, someone's always clapping for the wrong reasons.
Mm.
It may not be an applause, but someone's always clapping for the wrong reasons. Whether you fall short, some deal didn't go through, whether it's like you didn't get it out or you had to take a break,
Mm.
someone's always clapping for the wrong reasons. So as someone who's been in such a creative space for so long, I can only imagine how many people are clapping for the wrong reasons. So for you in that space, what does that look like for you? Overcoming people who are clapping for the wrong reasons, or even for other people who are starting that business, like how do you show awareness for it?
Yeah, that's major that you said that because you know you got people that, especially if you're in an area that's you're introducing something new,
Mm,
you know, to other people. Um, it's inevitable. You're gonna face the adversity of people trying to criticize what you do
right.
that have never done what you've done before as well.
A
You
thousand
know,
percent.
that's the major first key. Especially as a young black man, and you're going to, you know, we've been set up to kind of tear each other down
Yeah.
just because of what what is kind of in the mainstream or the forefront, you know.
Mm,
And it's, you know, I think keeping defying the odds, keeping like beating the odds in front of you
mm,
is what's going to like really that's what really helped me um like push through all the adversity and all the like the naysayers and stuff like that
mm.
because you know like my upbringing I wasn't like being put out of school being I have chances where my freedom was almost taken away and things like that
Right.
and you gotta know your why like your why
Yeah.
has to be stronger than um you know what people will criticize you for you know and the
Right.
youth that
Right.
was my why we didn't have anything and um once you realize like people show you who they are as well
Believe
like
him the
you know
first
believe them
time.
the first time believe
Right.
them the first time you know like hit the gas believe them the first time there's no hustling backwards you know
Yeah.
so that's kind of like what it is you know you got to just be careful and believe people like the first time your intuition will catch on to their character like right
Right.
away if you're moving with your why and you're moving with um integrity and passion like to help people
Something will all you can always
yeah
tell when someone's coming left.
right
Because
you
if
can
it's in
always tell
alignment, it's in alignment. If it's not, you can. It's not.
exactly
It's
everything
right.
is like you know I get people might not be able to do much but everything should be like you know as close a little close to mutual it's like a mutual energy exchange an energetic exchange so you can tell when people aren't really you know people are doing the most you know so
Right.
yep yep
It's interesting because I think something that you said really stuck with what I thought about, which is when you're in school and it's like you got to work within the box they give you, and I think it's like one of those things as someone who never understood why I had to stand in the box, and as of
mm,
course as someone as you know what standing in that box looks like, and it's crazy because if I've been to Hampton University. I've been to the HBCU. I graduated with a computer science degree. Like I did what you would think playing inside the box would look like. And even then, playing inside the box still put me in boxes that were smaller than the box I was playing in.
mm, right
So even playing in and out the box isn't good enough. you just have to play wherever it is that you want to play. And that's something that I realized firsthand when I graduated, and even in high school, or even furthermore, like it wasn't. I wouldn't say it's not a matter of slacking off. It's a matter of like, if your purpose isn't inside the building, like what am I doing to contribute to it?
Mm.
If I'm not doing it for me, what am I doing it for? And I think as I got my degree and as I went to school, a lot of that started to overhead where it's like, I'm doing this, I'm succeeding, it feels good, but something's not in it.
Yeah.
Something is not in it. It's either I'm not in it
Right.
or the why isn't in it.
Yep.
And so you have to figure out, and I'm glad that you figured it out a lot earlier than what I've seen people figure it out. Not many people are lucky to even have the opportunity to see what it's like outside the box, or as I like to say, touch grass.
Hey, you hit it perfect on the money. You hit it perfect on the money.
So it's just so for you, what inspired you to step outside the box?
Man, you just said it directly on like nature, nature, just being in nature. Uh, you know, it's I'm like I'm in the era where we had technology still evolving. So it
Mm,
was like, you know, we still had like the dial up, the
right,
AOL and all
right,
that. But
right.
see, like as
The
technology,
Hotmails.
yeah, for real, you would message your crush on there at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You get on the phone and my grandma used to pick up the other line. She'd be like, she'd
Who
be
this,
listening.
baby?
Who this? I'm like, oh man, she knew I was Casanova. But um, so like I think like we since I came up when technology was just starting to boom and stuff,
Mm,
a little bit more like as far as like cell phones and just everything.
mm,
Um, nature, like being able to balance, like nature was always first, like going outside as a kid and
right,
being inspired to you know um make tree houses and go explore the woods, go by the
right,
water.
right.
Like that's like the foundation of everything,
The grounding.
yeah, that was the grounding. Like before I started doing any kind of shows or anything, it was just like I was sharing nature photos and telling people like, hey, have a good day, make sure you take a breath today.
Right,
um
right,
hey, like just sharing like some really good nature photography. Hey, like go outside, like kind of reminding people that. And I would say that is what started everything. Just that feeling of being natural and not
mm,
like overdoing it. I started having bonfires before doing art shows. So I would
mm,
have people, and this was just a random cut in the woods that I
right.
just cleared out of space
Just let people come in, you
let
show
people
out.
come in. Yeah, and I
Right.
would bring people through a trail,
Mm,
and we would all hang out around the bonfire and stuff like that.
right.
So nature is what grounds everything, especially when you get all technological. People like to, I guess, the way that this is set up for you to succeed, and I say that with
Air
like,
quotes.
I say that with like, very loosely with a big airhead, like
Right.
to succeed, you have to do these strategic, like they make you go through all these strategic obstacles. But in it,
Right.
and I don't take away anybody that has went to school or done anything, but just it, you want to be close to what brings you joy. I feel like that childlike
Innocence and
curiosity,
curiosity. Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be just running through nature and stuff, but something that's like, oh, I'm interested in this.
Right.
Before we think of like, oh, this isn't what everyone else is doing.
Right.
Before we even think about all the other outside inputs and stuff, and we always kind of figure out what our end thing is going to be, the end goal going to be.
Right.
Like we have to, when you're just doing it off of like the strength, when you're just doing it off of like, oh, this is something that I want to explore and feel passionate about,
Right.
then
Whatever gets you out of bed in the morning.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if we weren't, if this wasn't a monopoly, like a money society, you would just be doing your passion.
You would just be doing what you
We would
love.
all would be
Yeah.
together, and you would have to find out what you love to do and
Right.
add on to your personality. So
Right.
nature is just like, it just teaches you to add on. It helped my curiosity in a way, So that's like main thing right there, you know.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
crazy because I feel like technology has made us the closest we've ever been, but yet we're the furthest disconnected. And I heard this
Mm.
quote in the podcast. I heard this quote in the podcast, so I do not own the quote. I've heard it before. It was on Demetrius Harmon's Between Me and You podcast. I'm a credit my
Shout out,
people.
bro.
I'm a credit my peoples.
Hey, shout out,
But
bro.
he was saying like in this internet, like we're so close together through technology and yet so distant apart. And it's crazy because like you said, like if this monopoly thing wasn't a thing, you would just do what you love. And it's crazy because I feel like where we're at right now is by choice. We could still do it because if the way the technology works, you can keep a camera on, you can paint for 6 hours on Twitch. If you get a
Right.
viewing, you get a following, you make some money. I mean,
Yeah.
it can be done.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel like everyone's always the box that people keep putting around us. It's crazy because it's like no matter who you are inside the box, as long as you're aware that there's a box around you, we just can't operate in it.
Right.
It's crazy to me. No matter how many tools we get, we only use the tools to operate inside the box.
Right.
And
Right.
and that's insane to me.
Yeah.
I'm a victim to it too. I can't lie. I'm using my laptop right now with a webcam. I'm a victim to it myself. But it's
Hey,
just like
you equipping it to your mission, though. You know, you're
right.
equipping it. You know, these are all made to be equipped onto our ship, to say, like our I like to say, like, you know, some spacecraft or something, you know, like equipped into our vehicle,
It's in
but
your
you know,
mission.
it's
It's in
in
your
your
landing
mission.
mission. It's in your
Facts.
shuttle. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't ever tell you how to use, like, you know, coming up, social media was just like the perfect thing to equip onto like your individual
Right.
transparency. And they never really teach you
How to
um
capitalize
how
on
to
it or even to
capitalize off it.
utilize
Yeah,
it.
or even to
Right.
utilize it, you know? Like,
Because I think one of the first things I did when I started doing Twitch and YouTube, I was looking for books, and then of course they come out with the dummies books. And
yeah,
so the
yeah.
first thing I did was how to do Twitch for dummies, how to do YouTube for
That's smart
dummies.
though, man.
And
That's smart.
it's smart, but it's like if you're inside a box, right? And you go to school, you have your textbook, you take your notes, you read. Like I'm
Hmm.
using tools inside the box to try to get
Yeah.
out of the box. So
Yeah.
it's whether I know it or not, like we're all using tools inside
Facts.
the box to get out of it. So
Facts.
it's always interesting. And then for me, it's like because I chose to go to school, because I chose to feel like I could do two things at once, to which I did. I went to school. I still did my passions. But for me, what I found is that the burnout, when you have your why accompanied by something that's like, why not?
Hmm.
It creates a different dichotomy. And so for you in your space, knowing what your why is, pursuing that, do you find yourself having burnouts more? How do you find yourself having burnouts now?
You know, when I think of like having to still um I think of life as duality, as in, like, you know, yin and yang, and I feel like, you know, you still have to indulge into, and you know, we say the box, but there's still a duality to learn within some like fundamental teaching, as far as like
Absolutely.
you know, working a job or going to school. It's just about, or the knowledge that you might find that someone else, because our
Right.
perceptions, we can receive it in a certain way,
Right.
and then uh stretch it out, manipulate it to our own vision, you know, something like that, you
Now it's
know.
whatever you wanted it to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about like letting information come in, and then you know, we're like alchemists, you know, so letting that, transcending and transforming the norm, should say, or whatever, allowing that information to go through like your world, you know. And that's what I think the mission, one of my missions, is to um inspire people to you know, think differently, and also start to cross over from the box, the norm completely, you know, because
Mm.
we all have to play the game and kind of strategically work our way out. That's, you know, what
Especially if you
everybody
black, you got to
tries.
play the game anyway.
Oh yeah. You know, that's like the main reason, is to show that, like, um as a black man too, you know, I mean, just what a couple years ago, we had uh, you know, riots and people marching and everything like
Yeah.
that. But we can't continue that. We can't
Right.
continue that. Um, what helps the burnout and what helps like the strong mission and work ethic is like, you know, um, I think that just being your transparent self, being your transparent self. And like for me, I keep, I made it a really strong mission to protect my peace,
Mm.
you know. So, a lot of practices I do is like, breathing exercises and things like
Mm.
that, because I did get certified in hatha and Kemet meditation and yoga. And I feel like, adding that into like having a, not just an entrepreneur, but having like a
Like a little bit of a healing
mindfulness. Yeah.
mindset. Yeah, a little
Having
mindfulness.
like a mindfulness and knowing your energetic pattern
Mm.
makes you aware of what life is kind of about, because a lot of the discomfort comes from um, being overwhelmed.
Right.
Like, you want to get to a certain place or
At a certain time,
it's at a certain time. But
looking a certain way.
yeah,
Yeah.
the main thing is like for me, it's just resourceful, um, living minimum. Your mind is your greatest tool. Your
Mm.
mind is your greatest tool. You don't need to forfeit your mind or pay, you know, thousands of dollars to just. I'm not saying knowledge isn't valuable, but I'm saying that find out who you are and what you're passionate about. Passionate about. I mean, think big, think crazy. Like
Right.
for me, I had already experienced like a lot of the worst. Jail, a lot of the things that like I've seen society as a black man, as a young black man as well. Like, I kind of see what I'm up against
Right.
and what has changed. Not, we was just March and people would kind of redo the things that are going to work. But,
Right.
you know, to play the game, I would say, you know, it's about being resourceful,
Right.
living minimum, and really just like creating uh as much as you can, because there
Right.
is still community out there. But there are, like
Yeah.
we talked about earlier, like once you accept people for who they are and you
You
get
can
them
you
out of
can
your
go from
space.
there. They give you exactly what you knew they were gonna give you. You
Exactly,
let them sit in
bro.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot, like, like there's still community. There's people that still want to do the right thing. There's
There'll
I
be
volunteer at a
somebody.
lot of food banks.
Right.
I'm here at the market. There's a lot of opportunity out here. You just have to keep that opportunity. You just have to keep flowing. And anybody that kind of stops anybody that holds you up, like
Right.
you gotta
Maneuver 'em.
maneuver around them. And it's nothing personal. So the only thing is personal is just like your vision and your peace. And my main thing is like I know that I'm able to like help others now as well. Like that's the main
Right.
thing. So yeah, just stay in the lane. Stay in the
Yeah.
lane. That burnout can come, but that's when you gotta
Bunker down.
bunker down.
Or be in a state of mindfulness.
Yeah, the
There,
mindfulness.
there's something that you said I want to speak to, which is like being in our space. You talked about, if not more boxes that people put you in. The many things that you already mentioned is boxes in of itself to put around you. Like people will put that on you. They'll say that you did this, that, and the third. Now it's gonna be harder for you to do this.
Mm.
It's gonna be harder for you to play the game that's already in a box. So it's like when it comes down to, and the reason why I say this because again, it comes from a place of going to a HBCU and seeing like people who look just like me, but instead of it being like, I love my people, by the way. Let's start there. I love my people, by the way.
Shout out to y'all.
But when you find yourself battling your people and people who don't look like you, trying to pursue something you find to be of value, now we're in a different realm. Now we're in a different state of peace. And I wish that we as black people, and I'll bring it full circle moment to something that happened recently. I'm not even gonna go too into it because it's
Mhm.
politics.
Right.
For example, the political debate. I think statistics say that we voted 90%. Right. We 90% got together and voted, whatever. We still win separately, but for some reason we can't lose together. for some reason we cannot, even if we did it together, for some reason we cannot lose together. It's always divide. And I think it's interesting because the people that should not put the boxes around us, I feel like are the people who are the harshest at doing it.
Mm.
And I think that as we progress in creative spaces, like you said, that you volunteer at food banks and, being mindfulness, I think that now at my age, it doesn't matter what someone puts a box around you because your intentions is to how can I phrase this? Despite what you may think about me, my intentions is always to help.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no matter what you get in the way to do, like my intention is always to help. So like the amount
Mm.
of boxes that get put on us at age, at who we are as Black people, who we are as in creatives, finances, all those separate boxes get put on us, and it's so interesting to me. And I wonder if you've had the same experience where it's like, as a man plus being Black plus what they expect you to do, they expect you to play the game because that's what success looks like, to play the game. And so when you opt out of playing the game, now it's an issue, now it's disrespect, now it's a problem. And is there anything you can speak to that factor of just trying to play outside the game and people trying to put you back in because it means something to them but not necessarily to you?
Yeah, definitely. You know, when people try to victimize you or victimize themselves, because that's kind of what it goes into. You know,
Mm,
when you start to realize that you are much more than what what society has become like right now to this day and age, and there's been times where you know energy, like I said, energy is a really big thing with me as well,
right.
and people can't help, um well, some people can't help it. Sometimes people, um they have a lot of pity on themselves, and
Right.
that's just coming from like lost hope. And I feel like to anybody that lose hope, there's
You're in the danger zone.
you're in the danger zone. But
Yeah.
also, you know we live like it's duality here. So like if you lose hope, that there's still freedom in that. There's still freedom in that because
Right.
you haven't lost the hope to create. Like the hope of creating isn't gone, but the hope of fitting in is gone.
Or
That's
seeing
the
it, seeing
main
it
thing,
through.
Yeah, seeing it
Yeah.
through. Like you won't. But I'm trying to make people realize that there is much more than just you know being just left behind. So
Right.
there's much more than that. There's resources. There's community.
Right.
People will try to bring you back into what they think success is, but like I said, we are all individuals. We are all individuals here. We have an individual story, and nobody can speak upon um, anybody else's passion. That's how I feel. Like unless they've been to where you've been and whatnot. And the biggest thing is everybody knows, um, you know, everybody knows somebody that could help, but we are in a gatekeeping time, and especially with Black people,
Right. You gotta have
and
the
older
right
Black
mission for me
people.
to help.
Exactly. You got to be
Yeah.
the right person. You got to pray to the right God. You got to look a certain way in order for me to help and things like that. So people are aware. They just gatekeep it. And see, I had to go through a lot of gatekeeping, a lot of them being older, like older Black folk. Um, a lot of them being, um, older white folk as well. But the gatekeeping has it just made me push harder for what I wanted.
Right.
So, people, especially coming up, you're gonna have like elders that you know they'll use their experience, their individual experience to
To
dictate
build a ceiling.
exactly to dictate where you go and to dictate where you stop.
Right.
So for me, like I said, growing up in nature, growing up skateboarding, growing up dysfunctional as well. Um, I had to kind of figure out what I wanted to do myself. You know, with my grandparents took me and my brother in, so it was like, but you know, we were young boys, and that's a lot for them to handle. So it's kind of like learning from my own experiences, and then realizing that, you know, we can sing and dance and all this and
Mm-hmm.
praise and all that, but that's not doing anything. That's not gonna, you know, when I started curating shows, it was getting like, you know, man, so many kids, so many people. It was like thousands of people by the
Mm-hmm.
time I started going. And I remember one thing that somebody said. It was this older black dude. He was like, I was like, yeah, I'm really trying to take this to the next level. Let this become something. You know, I really want to house this better.
Right.
These people, and they were elderly white people, old white people, or places where I was going. They were letting me show up and pop out. It was cool, but they weren't really taking it serious. Like I just needed the right guidance as well to kind of like turn it into something bigger. But the one thing that he said, he was like, "No, you're missing this. You're missing church, missing all this stuff." So, you know, once people show you who they are,
Believe in the first
believe
time.
them the first time. That's
Do
gonna
you
help
do
everything.
you feel like in those spaces where people allowed you a time to be shown but not shine is from the a place of like I'm gonna speak plainly. It's not the way I think about it,
Hmm.
obviously, but just from their perspective, do you think that people treat it like a circus act? Like this is the starter before we actually do the show. Like this is the jest before we get down to it. Because I feel like a lot of times people will mask opportunity as a means to show insignificance. And
Mm.
so it's like they give you like it's an apple tree, right? They give you a small apple, but they got
Mm.
all the apples in the back. They only gave you
Right.
this one, and you could easily plant your own tree. They could give you the seed,
Right.
but they only gave you the fruit.
Right.
Obviously, apples have seeds in them. I know y'all understand the analogy though,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. And I think like you said was a beautiful point of just people trying to take away from what you're doing. And
Hmm.
for my black men and women, regardless of what it may be, you exist outside of your finances. You exist outside of your experiences. You exist outside of your social status. You exist outside of your social media. The problem that we all need to run into is that we as people in general, not even just color, be who you are in spite of what you have.
Mm. That part.
When you die, the only thing that you can take with you is the suit you have on.
Mm. Come on.
That's the only thing that follows you in the casket.
Yeah. That's
And
major.
depending on how much money you have, it depends what type of suit you got on. But when you go to heaven, God ain't gonna say you had the Gucci on.
Yeah.
Like no one's
Come
waiting for you
on
to put
now.
your shoes on or tie them up. Like just be. Tomorrow isn't promised. Just exist.
Exactly. Like I said, keep the people close to you who don't look at your passion as a jester, like a jester for the royalty. No, like it is the royalty. We are uh, breathing, walking, breathing gods. We are way higher and so much more than the eye can see. And once you have that realization, and you're thinking outside of the box,
Mm,
um, especially as my melanated gods and goddess. They have created, um, you know, uh, a way. They have created a way to influence um, young black and brown women and men coming up, and it's important to like detach because it's we're way much more than 1 month. We're way much more than
right.
what a lot of these people are. A lot of the like the industry, music industry, and all this stuff is
Yeah. More than
creating.
rappers, more than
Yeah, we
thugs,
more than rappers, more than thugs.
more than basketball players.
Exactly. Once you have that ideology of like you're empty canvas, you can
Right.
recreate yourself. It's way better, and I feel like bringing people when you bring people into nature and detach, that's like the forefront of everything right there. Like
Right.
people, if you're in an environment where you're just tolerated and not celebrated,
Right.
and that's
Right.
the thing. we have to create our own environments. It's
Right.
no more begging people to treat us right.
Or
And
just
I
do it.
say this for creatives too, all colors, because if you're an ally, if you're a real ally, you're gonna get messed with as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
shout out to my real allies out there, the white, Chinese, like, to see the struggle. At the end of the
Right.
day, we all here together, and we can't. Um, they're only gonna look at, um, some, like, different establishments and places are only gonna look at you as just a jester, but it's beyond time that we have our own. We get as close to our own as we can, and that just takes minimalizing our living,
Right.
minimalizing our spending, and
Right.
that's how you can protect your peace and realize that what you have is much more than just a small token and whatnot. So,
Right.
you know, yeah, I've felt like that, and it's happened to me
Mm.
coming up, but um, people don't realize, like, when you're trying to make a difference,
Mm.
it's much more than you, So once you're
Right.
not doing it for yourself, um, that's how you always remember, like, all right, like, this is bigger, because
It's
I'm
bigger
not
than
just
me.
thinking of myself.
Right.
And
You
I
got
mean, I'm
people
doing
that.
it for myself because it's an expression, it's an outlet. But the
Right.
moment you put it out there, um, just making sure your intention is
Pure.
it's pure, yeah, and you want to inspire, you want to kind of just put something in the melting pot for someone else, to whether they're a
Yeah.
drawer or a dancer or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just putting it there.
I heard this quote once, and it kind of spoke to that in a way, or at least the interpretation I took from it. It was a TikTok too. I gotta stay off TikTok. But she was
We
saying,
on TikTok next.
she was like,
I
the
don't
love
got
of
one
your
yet.
life is the love of your life.
Ooh.
So if you don't understand, the love of your life is the love of your life. If you don't love your life the way it is right now, you won't be able to get it done. You have to love where you are right now in whatever season that may be. Shout out to the podcast seasons. But
Hey.
you have to love wherever you're at in whatever capacity that may be. And I think a lot of times we miss that. A lot of times, like you said, we're tolerated instead of celebrated. But if you celebrated yourself, it doesn't matter who's tolerating you. You're operating in a separate place. No matter who says that you're not good enough, you already know that you are. It just starts from there. Start from within, you know,
Yeah.
and there will come people who will believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And there may be those low points. Obviously, there will be. It's life, but it comes to a point where you have to love your life the way it is. And if you're responsible for people, if there's people that you want to get a leg up for, people who share the same experiences as you, like continue to propel them upwards through your own experiences. That's the point. Inspiration to inspire the next, to inspire the next, to inspire the next. Like your life inspires the next person. So would you not rather have the love of your life inspire the next person as opposed to one who loathes your life?
Mm, that part. That's major right there. That's like, and people can hate you for that. Like,
Right.
that's the most ridiculous shit I've ever seen, Excuse my language, but I just, you know, anybody that's, because you see a lot of, like, depression, like, the people cling on to it. Some people will cling on to it and
Yeah.
just put it out there. Stay away from them. We are not. I feel like leading by example is the perfect um, solution to
Right.
other people, and having allowing people be to start to become more self-reliant. There are people that are helping as well. They're like community, like there is community out there as well.
Mm.
But the main thing is to detach. This isn't a materialistic world. You won't leave here with you will only leave here, like, with the suit on. I mean, you won't be able to take nothing with you except how you treated people. Like, people are going to remember how you treated them, um, and mainly your energy, your energetic pattern. Everything else will follow up after that. Like,
Right.
all that's, like, belongs to you. We have everything. We just have to really claim it, and it really
And embody it.
and
Yeah.
embody it. Yeah,
Yeah.
embody it. Embody it. Like that's what I'm saying. It when you say it starts in the grass, it's kind of like everybody um is such in a rush, but how healthy are you? How
Right.
and it sucks because we deal with like having shelter and like having like food and stuff like that.
Right.
But see, the main thing is like we're in a new renaissance. We're in a different era where um there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of tools that can help like the self
Right.
succeed, and there's a lot of you just have to be willing. um there's different forms of being tough, but I think the main like form of being tough is to be without,
Yeah.
so that way
Yeah.
you can always
Be with.
be with, and
Right.
you're gonna be able
Weakness is
to
strength.
you're
Right.
gonna be able to be strong. You're gonna be able to um tap more into like that
That perseverance.
right, that animalistic creature, so to say, because you're in nature. you there's you're taking use of your surroundings, your resources, um and that is coming more to the forefront. Like that community is being more in the forefront now, and I'm blessed to like protect that and
Mm.
make it so like I want this to continue, um like be able to be passed down, and like just the understanding, just like the actions. I was just thinking about like another thing coming up. They started cutting down a lot of trees and stuff. They
Yeah.
started building all this like in this area. It's like they cut down a lot of trees and done a lot of unnecessary things. But so the main thing about that is like, just when you're building up,
Mm.
and you develop that awareness, and you get that develop more self-love for yourself, like you
Mm.
own that, and then you'll own everything else. You'll think about owning everything else after that. So
1000%. I appreciate you coming out. Appreciate the space.
yes, indeed, this was a blessing in itself for sure.
A
Like,
1000%. Is there any final thoughts that you want to have?
you know man, I'll say I'm super proud of you, cuz, and
I
you
try.
shoot, this is we've gotten away so much away from conversation. We've gotten away from just simple dialogue
Mm.
because um you know the way that the internet and the way that society is kind of made is to take away your dopamine. It kind of gives you like that instant gratification,
Right. Get you a
but you
little addiction.
lose facts. The addiction rate to everybody being isolated, and I say isolated from themselves, isolated from the individual thinking, is at the highest rate right now. But on the other side, you know, um, that we always have access to, we have stuff like this, meaningful conversations,
Right.
and this is much appreciated, and I feel like um, yeah, there's a lot to come. There's a lot in store,
A,
bro.
a
We got
thousand
we
percent.
got a lot on the
You're
way. That's
locked
all I
in.
can tell the people. We got a lot on the way. Yeah, if you was with me when you started and I started and you hopped off the boat, like,
It's up and it's
hey,
stuck. Much love.
yeah, much love, much, not much I can say. Just don't. We here. We're not falling victim to any negative influences. The everything is keep going. I'm steady running with my passion, and we looking forward to next year and doing some more episodes and
A 1000%.
music on the way, album on the way, shows on the way, and just looking out for my fam, and everything that I do is for anybody that has that adopted the understanding of just being your individual self, and
Right.
we're not harming anybody. So don't come through on some wildness. You it's gonna get shut down real quick. That's all I'll say.
Come cutesy. Come demure.
Shout out to Seasons, man.
Just for some closing thoughts. Just keep in mind who's clapping for the wrong reasons,
Mm,
and keep close who's clapping for the right ones.
Major facts. Major facts. Believe everybody the first time they tell you, like first stomach feeling you get about somebody, or about something that don't really seem you, like, follow that. Follow that. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. But if somebody that you care about, or somebody that, that's been around, and they give you some advice or something, like, look at it from different angles and stuff, it might help. But stay in your lane. It's major.
1,000%. Y'all be easy though. Take care.
She.